Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that works. Welcome back to the Brampton Observatory channel. I didn't announce that I was going live tonight or anything. However, opportunity has presented itself. It is a clear night. One of the first ones we've had in a very long time. Winter this year was, to say the least, for astronomy, challenging. I personally got out very few nights, and the weather never cooperated. It would be clear, and then all of a sudden, like, the clouds would be there in a matter of 10 minutes after I set everything up. So I wanted to get back on for a little bit and see what we could do here tonight. Again, I'm sure probably nobody will see this live, but if you do pop in, say hello. And right now we are looking at M82, and I did a 5-minute exposure on this just to see how it come out. Guiding is looking actually pretty good tonight. It is a clear night. The moon will be coming up quite late, in my view anyway. And I thought we'd go through a few targets and have a look at it is galaxy season, but we'll see if we can find some interesting nebula along the way here. Probably won't be on too late tonight, and well, the next 3 days, Friday onward, we're supposed to get bad weather yet again right through till at least Monday, so that's kind of disappointing. However, we're here tonight, and hopefully you'll, if you don't see this live, you'll tune in and have a look at the channel, and subscribe would be really great. Helps me out a lot. And I do have a Patreon if anyone wants to buy me a cup of coffee or two under Brampton Observatory channel. You can certainly do that. And hopefully as we get through late spring and into summer, we will start to see better weather and be able to get on more often. Of course, now the days are getting much longer, so it gets darker a lot later than it did in the winter time. I do like winter observing. For those who are new to the channel, I have an 11-inch Rasa telescope by Celestron, and I have a Gear 60 mounted on top of it that I use for guiding and for some solar stuff from time to time. And the Gear 60 I plan on taking to Starfest this year and go portable with that. And unfortunately, won't be able to broadcast from Starfest. The internet there is pretty much non-existent. But it's a great star party, one of the biggest certainly here in Canada. And it's taking place in August this year, so I encourage anybody who's interested to check out the North York Astronomical Association online, and you can get more information about Starfest 2025. I was hoping to go to NEAF this year, but that didn't happen either. Work kind of got in the way of that. And I hear it was much better this year than the previous years. So people are coming back out again, and hopefully that trend will continue. One of the difficult things right now for my friends who are looking at potentially buying a telescope is the tariffs. The tariffs have increased the price of telescopes, in some cases by quite a bit. I was looking at the cost of my telescope, what it is now, as to what it was when I bought it, and sticker shock was definitely there. So choose carefully what you're going to buy, and what you really want to do with the telescope, because frankly, you don't want to get the wrong equipment for what you want to do, whether you're getting into just visual observing or if you're going to take the deep plunge into astrophotography. I've talked about ways of getting into astrophotography before that are a little bit cheaper and a good way to start. There's some smart telescopes out there now, like the Seastar and Dwarf and some of the others that are relatively inexpensive and will certainly get you started in astrophotography. Astrophotography, however, can be addictive, and it also can be, if you want it to be, very expensive. I shudder to think about the equipment costs that I have right now. However, if you're enjoying it and it becomes a part of your lifestyle, then definitely get involved and buy yourself a telescope, whether it's a smart scope like a Seastar, or whether you get into a refractor or a reflector, Schmidt-Cassegrain, or in my case, a RASA. Celestron is coming out with a new RASA that's less expensive than the one I have. It's a 6-inch RASA, and it will work just great for getting you started. So we're going to probably move targets here because you're probably getting bored of looking at this one. There was a supernova in this galaxy right here, which is kind of known as the Cigar Galaxy. And this is like one single exposure. If I were going to actually image this and save the images, I'd take many, many exposures over a period of time and stack them all together and process them, because I have right now an H-alpha filter, NBZ H-alpha filter on it, so it will kind of cast that reddish tone in it. Certainly I would probably image RGB and then image H-alpha to pick up any H-alpha in the galaxies, but you can certainly see the outline of the spiral arms up here, and certainly very prevalent in the Cigar or the Exploding Galaxy. You can see how bright the core is. We can turn on annotate here, and you can see these are basically Messier objects M82 and Messier M81. So let's venture out and find another target here. Conveniently, in the ASI Air software, it has all of the what's called tonight's best. So we'll have a look through. There's a bunch of galaxies. Some would be quite distant and small. The bigger, closer galaxies are not really that visible in my area right now. Well, there's the Surfboard Galaxy. I'm not sure how big that would appear. I've never imaged that one before. Let's see if there's any nebula here that we can take a look at, or any McCarran's chain would be good. That's a bunch of galaxies. Where is that at? It's just crossing 45 degrees in the southeast. So let's have a look. No guarantees, and we'll see if that is in fact visible. Just checking to see if anyone's there in the chat. For some strange reason, I can't see the chat here on my iPhone. Oh, okay. So there we go. Alright, so let's just leave that and see if anyone pops in. So it's centered up the target, and it's going to take a quick image and download that, which may be a little bit slower because the internet company that I deal with does not have the speediest of internet connections, unfortunately. They claim they do, but well, not so much. Not in my area anyway. So that just blacked out everything, so let's just do an auto stretch on that. And let's start with 120 seconds. See where that brings us to. If anyone has any questions about what we do here or about astronomy in general, you can reach me at the Brampton Observatory at gmail.com. That's all one word, Brampton Observatory at gmail.com. And I do try to answer emails with questions and that sort of thing. And we've got about 85 seconds, so let's see what we get from this tonight. As I say, these are just single frames, basically, single images. They're not stacked, they're not processed. Do a little bit of stretching on them with the histogram, and that's pretty much it for live. You can do live stacking in this software, and we'll do that another night when it's not quite so late already. It's 10 o'clock here in Brampton, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more detailed images when we do live stacking. And the sky is still clear here, which is good. And yeah, it looks good actually so far tonight. As I said, this is really one of the clearest nights I can certainly remember for a while. That I was able to get out. Okay, so there's McCarran's chain. So I can see, now we have a satellite up here in the top. But I can see a bunch of the galaxies. Let's just annotate that. And this is a chain of galaxies called McCarran's chain. There's people pronounce it differently. So let's do a longer exposure of that, because that's really kind of cool. So let's do 180 seconds. So let's see how that turns out. And we can bring that down a little bit. And probably a little bit more. Yeah, that's a little too much. There we go. So we'll see after 120 or 180, I should say, seconds, and then maybe we'll go with maybe a 5-minute exposure, and you can see all of the galaxies here and their different NGC designations and IC. I've really missed being out and doing this. It was, as I say, just for those of us who live in the Ontario and certainly in southern Ontario, just a gosh awful winter that we suffered through, especially if you were into astronomy. But that being said, if you're getting new into astronomy, then certainly it's a good time to buy a planetarium software or just join a local astronomy club. They're right across Canada, and of course in the US at all for any of my US viewers, and internationally as well. There's astronomical societies all around the world that you can join, and they're fun and they're very helpful people. I belong to the Mississauga branch of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, and a great bunch of people, and they do have star parties all year long in urban areas, and volunteers will bring out telescopes. So if you're in the area, certainly check out and see the local RASC chapter in your area if you're here in Canada. And I'm sure now, again, as the weather gets better, they'll have more outdoor events, usually in parks and places like that. I think they have it here mostly with RASC Mississauga at the Riverwood, I think it is, Conservatory, just in Mississauga. And like I say, pop by. You'll get to look through telescope, and if you have any questions, definitely a lot of great people who will help you out with that. So we got about 5 seconds left on this one, and we are loading the image. I like the Rasa 11 because it has a slightly wider field. I used to have a Celestron 14-inch Edge HD. It suffered an unfortunate accident. I got it repaired and it suffered another unfortunate accident. So I kind of lost that telescope, and I do miss it for close-up versions of the things like galaxies and nebula, getting more detail, that sort of thing. So that kind of actually washed it out a bit. Let's see if we can bring that. Yeah, that's probably not even very visible on your screen. We'll do the annotation again. But you can see the large chain of galaxies starting over here where my mouse is and running down and all the way down into this corner here, which if I turn off the histogram you can see better. So this is a large chain of galaxies, and unfortunately I don't think the long exposure did a lot on these. The sky is a little bit bright tonight. It's just the nature of where I am. I live in an area where the skies are what are known as Bortle 9. Bortle 9 is one of the highest ratings for light pollution, so it kind of comes with the territory. It can be a little bit frustrating, and you can filter some of that out with light pollution filters and things like these H-alpha filters that only allow certain bandwidths of light through, but there's no substitute for really dark skies, that's for sure. So that's a look at that. So let's have a look and see if we can find a more nebulous target. What's up right now? As you can see as I scroll through this, the amount of galaxies. This just indicates how high it is up in the sky. You have things like the vacuum cleaner galaxy. Really, who named that? I have no idea why they call it the vacuum cleaner galaxy. That's a good question. And what else do we have? A lot of things below or low to the horizon. Again, lots and lots of galaxies. But, yeah. That's another galaxy. Galaxy. So we're just scrolling through here. So I'm gonna switch over and have a look. Let's have Mars is up in the sky tonight, by the way, but let's have a look at just Messier objects. There we go. So the Crab Nebula, it's setting at the moment. I'm not sure if we could get to it or not. M2 is well below the horizon. M3 is kind of up there. That's a globular cluster. The Crab Globular Cluster is way below. Let's see what else is there. Lagoon Nebula. And the Andromeda Galaxy is now way below. M32, which is also no. Yeah, pretty much almost all of the Orion is now well set. And Beehive Cluster, the Pleiades, they've all kind of gone now. These are more winter targets. Whirlpool Galaxy, I did look at that a little bit earlier. Ring Nebula, which is a great target, but not really available to us tonight. And wow, the Casper the Ghost Nebula. Cigar Galaxy we already had a look at. The Southern Pinwheel. Again, we're kind of back in the Messier objects into the galaxies. Sombrero is kind of low. Good galaxy to look at, though. What else do we have here? Let's look at NGC catalog and see if there's not really anything there either. Spring can be a little bit challenging. Like I say, if you're looking for galaxies, lots of those out there. Let's go back and have a look. I have another piece of software here called Starry Night Pro, and it kind of gives you a bit of an indication of what's, well, not a bit, quite a bit. You can see Mars. This is kind of a view of my backyard. I did cut off the houses just so I could see what was lower in there. Unfortunately, the Heart and Soul Nebula are way too low right now. And, wow. Yeah, it's pretty slim pickings, as they say, as to what's out there right now. Alright, so I guess we're going to look at a galaxy. So let's go back. And we'll go back to tonight's best. is a comet out there, but I don't. It's well below the horizon. California Nebula, Christmas tree cluster. Let's find something that's a little higher up. Well, we can have a look at the Beehive cluster. Not exactly a spectacular nebula, but these, like the Rosette Nebula, these will all be up later on in the year. The Lobster Claw, that's too low. So let's have a look at the Beehive cluster. Why not? I'm sure you'd rather look at that than listen to me yammer on. So the telescope is just slewing to its target. So we had quite a ways to go, apparently. Just keeping an eye on the sky because I really don't trust the weather. So it's acquired the target, and let's see what we got. Well, we got a lot of blackness till we do the histogram here. And let's auto reset to start with. So yeah, not too bad. Let's do a little bit longer exposure. This is a fairly bright object, so we don't need a lot of contrast on it. That's a little dark. Let's see how that looks on my other monitor. Yeah, not too bad at all. So this is the Beehive cluster. You can see it's a open cluster of stars. Just get rid of that for a minute. And that is known as Messier 44. And there are certain times of the year where you can actually do what's called a Messier marathon. And that's through the entire night, seeing all the Messier objects are visible at one time through the night. But that doesn't happen too often, so you have to do it when the opportunity presents itself. Now we're getting mostly clear, so there are some clouds starting to move in. Oh, surprise. Welcome to astronomy. And I'm seeing that on my weather software here as well, I believe. Still kind of showing clear, but I suspect clouds will start to move in the not too distant future because it is supposed to rain tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Well, that's quite bright. Histogram. Let's turn that down a wee bit. There. Okay, so again, this is just a single frame image capture. You can see that it is an open cluster of stars here, and it kind of stretches for a bit down into this area as well. And I guess they call it the Beehive because it looks like a busy beehive with all these stars being the bees and looking busy as a bee, I guess. And we got a. There you go. So it did annotate it and surround it, but there we go. Yeah, that's the entire cluster right here. All of these stars. So that was M44. Let's see what else we got here. As we scroll through. Yeah, there's a lot of good things, but they're really low in the sky right now. The Pinwheel Galaxy, well, you know what? It's galaxy season. Let's look at the Pinwheel Galaxy. I think I'm gonna shut my face off here for a minute or two. There, I'm gone. Just to let you see a little more of the screen. And I see I've had a couple of viewers on here, so that's cool. Most of the time I'm unfortunately not able to announce live, so people just kind of find me and join in. So definitely we need more exposure time on this one. So let's start with a 3-minute exposure. Guiding is getting a little jerky right now. It does settle after a bit. Like right now it's guiding at 1.17, which is actually much higher than I usually guide at, which could be some upper level haze in the sky rolling in as well. So let's see how this guy comes out. Sorry, just checking. Oh, we've had 5 views tonight, so that's kind of cool. Some people may have just skipped through. As I said before, I do ask people to like the channel and subscribe because it helps the analytics with YouTube to get out there so more people can find the channel and see what we're doing. So I'm not going to force you, but it would be great if you would do that. It would be very helpful to me. So you can see the guiding still just hovering under 1, which is, considering I'm in a Bortle 9 zone, not horrible, but my guiding is usually much better than that on a really good dark night. Also could be some moonlight coming up a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what time the moon is supposed to rise today, but we'll see what happens with this image. Probably go here for another half hour if I can find enough targets to look at. Oh, no. My guiding has lost a star. That's never a good sign. That usually means cloud. So I'm not sure Oh, and we're guiding again. So yeah, it looks like there's some upper level haze going on, and occasionally we're losing the guide star. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, I also need to, I think, shoot some new darks because of the temperature change now. It's much warmer than it was in the winter. So the darks that I have here are not the best. And we can probably also increase that to 1 second. Let's see if that gives us a better guiding. Definitely need new darks. Okay, so interesting. So let's do that again. I'm not quite sure why we're not getting an image. Sometimes the ASI software gets a little bit wacky. Let's try it again. Yeah, the mount is not. It seems to be okay. It's seeing lots of stars, so the target is centered. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. So now we are going to do that 180 seconds. You can see right where my mouse cursor is there that there's a satellite trail. And that is becoming a major, major issue in astronomy, especially for astrophotography. All of these satellites that are launched by Elon Musk, they call them constellation satellites because there's so many of them streaking across the sky. There are literally tens of thousands of objects, everything from satellites to debris from rockets that have been left over, debris from satellites that have been destroyed, all hundreds of thousands of pieces of objects in the sky. And it's becoming so dense up there that there's a concern that eventually doing deep sky imaging will be next to impossible. You can filter this stuff out in Photoshop and some of the other processing software out there, but it really is a pain to deal with. Technology's great, progress is great, but again, for people who are into astrophotography, this can be sometimes a real challenge to deal with. So we got about 80 seconds here to wait on this one. Nobody in the chat, sadly. It would be nice to have someone to chat to, but that's okay. Hopefully, again, people will tune in after the fact. And I've lost my guide star again, so that's again telling me that clouds are a-coming. So probably I will shoot a new set of darks for the guide scope in the next day or two. I don't really need to do anything with that. You just cover the lens with the lens cap on the telescope, and the software automatically shoots the appropriate darks. It's all about temperature range. And obviously right now it's 5 degrees here, so Celsius, so that's pretty warm compared to days we've gone through in the winter. So here we go, 3 seconds, 2, 1. Let's see what that gives us. says we're on target, so. Although sometimes the mount does get a little confused and you have to reset everything. Oh, okay, I do see the galaxy, but I also see a lot of haze. So that was like at 180 seconds. You can see it's in here, but there is haze coming in. And definitely, wow, yeah, that was 180 seconds. So that was a 3-minute exposure. I don't know if I can do much with that for you to see it. Maybe. No. That image, but all this haze. And where is the telescope pointing here? Let me have a quick look. Yeah, as I look up, I can see some haze in the sky, and that's pretty much what's blocking us here. So that's kind of disappointing, but that's part of astronomy, especially astrophotography. So let's have a look and see if we can find something other than that. M106, Spiral Galaxy. It is in the east. You may have some trees in the way on that one. M5, M13. M13 is actually quite low at the moment. M3, there you go. So there's a globular cluster. It is in the east. Let's see if we can get to that one. Again, that may be kind of in the direction of where the haze in the higher cloud is. I'm gonna step outside here. I'm in my observatory, so, and have a look and see how much cloud cover is coming in. If it's getting thicker and thicker, then we'll probably have to call it for tonight, although I did want to go till around 11. Oops, let's auto stretch that. Okay, well, that's the beginning. We should need a long exposure for this, so let's try 60 seconds. We can kind of zoom in on that a little bit, and we can pull the histogram down. You can start to see a little bit of the cluster in here. These clusters of stars are small mini galaxies, call them satellite galaxies, that are outside of the Milky Way, actually. Yeah, my guiding is still fairly high. See what it looks like after 60 seconds. Yeah, we might be able to do a slightly longer exposure. Doesn't look like it's quite as hazy in this part of the sky. I miss my 14-inch telescope for targets like this. There we go. So that's a little better. So if we annotate that, it will tell you that it's M3 or NGC 5272. We can darken that up a little bit. There we go. And we can actually zoom in on that a little bit so you can see a lot of older stars in there, reddish stars, with a bright core in the center. So pretty cool. Globular clusters or globular clusters, whichever you want to call them. I call them globular clusters because they're more globular to me. A lot of people also call them globular clusters. And I see our guiding is getting wacky again here a little bit. So let's just for fun do a 2-minute exposure and see what that gives us. And by the way, if you do subscribe to the channel, and I hate to keep bugging you for that, but if you do and you turn on notifications, it will tell you every time we do go live here. And then you can actually tune in and we can chat. Would love to chat with people as we're doing this. Occasionally I do go on, I think it's still around Night Sky Network, and I've lost my star again for guiding, so I'm not sure. Yeah, looks like again that high cloud plus the fact that more or less I need to do a recalibration of my darks for the guide scope, as I mentioned earlier. And we're guiding and then lost again. Which is okay. For short exposures, guiding, and this is a really good mount that I have, so it actually tracks very, very well, even without guiding. And we got about 16 seconds left on this target. See what we got here. And what we have is way overexposed. Well, let's bring that up to there. Yeah. You can play around with the histogram a little bit. That kind of made it darker. And you can actually see the haze there, and that brightens it up a bit. But even since the last time I did the exposure, yeah, that didn't really do a whole lot, did it? Alright, well, let's look for another target. We'll go for a little longer here, but it looks like we're gonna be calling this one a little earlier than I had hoped. This would be a great target if it were up the Bubble Nebula. Sadly, it is not. We have lots of galaxies. Oh, there's a nebula. I see 2574, Coddington's Nebula, which is in the north sky, so it's pretty high up right now. Well, let's see if we can get this one in. If it's hazy, it may be difficult. The mount is slewing around. I should say the telescope is slewing around. The mount is not moving. Well, part of the mount is moving. Anyway. This one may require a longer exposure, but we'll try it 120 seconds and see what we got. It's acquired the target. It's just centering it up now in the screen. see what we got. Probably, like I say, not much with this shorted exposure. I keep saying I'm going to go outside because I'm in a control room. The telescope is actually outside. If you've looked at any of my videos, you would see the setup here for the observatory. It's a roll-off roof observatory. And I have a control room with all my computers in it. And yeah, that really showed us nothing. So let's try 120 seconds and see if we get anything out of that. I've actually never tried to image this nebula before, so I'm not sure what it will take to get an image out of it in terms of exposure time. Although guiding in this part of the sky seems to be really good. We're down at 0.47. It's kind of funny because I'm actually watching this on another screen, the YouTube broadcast, and there looks like there's like almost a 20-second delay between where I actually am and the output through YouTube. So it's not instant, so there's a bit, that delay is in there, so it kind of freaky when you're looking at it that way. So from my perspective, it's loading the image. Okay, well, lots of stars, lots of haze. I think we would have to go a lot longer. I can sort of see a little bit of something here on the screen, which you probably may not be able to see depending on your resolution. It's just coming up now on the YouTube broadcast. I see some bluish kind of area. Let's try, just for fun, seeing as the skies are kind of deteriorating on us a bit here, 180 seconds. And see if we get anything out of this at all. This may be one of those difficult nebulas to actually gain up quite a bit to 200. The temperature, camera cooler temperature, is running at minus 19 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good, but it means it's running the cooler at at 100%, as you can probably see down in the bottom of the screen there. It's a really great camera. I use an ASI 2600 MC Pro camera. All of my gear, for the most part, for imaging, my focuser, my camera, are all in my, of course, my ASI Air made by ZWO. Great stuff. Would I love to have an Eagle, which is made by Premaluce, or Premaluce, for those who are Italian. Sorry for the mispronunciation. However, that's a very expensive piece of equipment, and what it is basically a mini computer that you can put all your software on, and it runs your telescope. I like the convenience of the ASI. Unfortunately, ASI is very proprietary in their equipment, what you can use with their software and that sort of thing. People keep telling me there's some free software out there called Nina, which a lot of people use. I have not used it yet. I like the fact that this is wireless with the ASI Air, the mini computer, and I can do this through Wi-Fi. Can do it. I mean, I've hooked it up through some special software that allows me to run Android on my computer, Android software on my computer. But yeah, it's a pretty expensive piece of equipment to get into right now. So, and Nina, once you get the hang of it, I hear is really good, but it does take a fair amount of digging into it to understand all of its capabilities. But it is free software, so if you ever get started and you want to try it, you can download it and play around with it. And we have about 1 second on this. So let's have a look and see if we get anything at all. I'm kind of doubting it. But surprise me. There we go. Okay, let's do it. Auto on that. Yeah, I can kind of see the beginnings of it. I think I would have to do probably 10-minute exposure on this to get anything decent on it. And certainly in these skies you can see the haze out in this area off to the left of the screen there. And that is definitely getting worse all the time. So let's try one more target, and then I think we're going to call this a night, and hopefully get back and do it again in the near future. So let's see what we can get that's kind of a guarantee to see. We looked at the Whirlpool already. The Koi Fish Galaxy. Okay. I love some of the names they've come up with for these. Phantom Galaxy. Sounds scary. Sunflower Galaxy. I don't think there's any nebulosity that we can pick up right now. Not really nebula season at the moment. Yeah, just lots and lots of galaxies. Although Macarian's Chain was really cool. We get to see that. Yeah, these are going to be all pretty much all galaxies, and I don't want to waste the last one. Yeah, we tried that already. That didn't come out too well. Yeah, you know what? Let's look at the Leo triplet. Where's it sitting in the north? So north seemed to be a better direction for us. If you hear a noise in the background, by the way, I apologize. It's actually a heater that I have on the go in here. I'm not sure if we'll see anything at all on the initial exposure. It is recentering everything. I'm going to pop back on here in a minute. Let's see what we have. So we've started guiding. And it is still loading the image. Okay, well, I can see a hint of a galaxy. Let's look at the annotation. Okay, so there is the triplet. So let's do 180 seconds and see what we get. Move that out of the way. Kind of darken that up a little. Guiding here is not the best, but not horrible either. It's about 0.74. Guiding typically starts off a little rough anyway until the mount settles, which can take a minute or two sometimes. This is a group of 3 galaxies, obviously known as the Leo triplet, because it's in the constellation of Leo. This, by the way, while we're waiting for that, is the software that I'm talking about. It's called Starry Night Pro. You do have to pay for this one. It's not free. There is a free one out there that I also really recommend for people called Stellarium. Stellarium is a great piece of software. I just happen to like this one a little better. You can see Mars is way, way up here in the western sky. Oddly enough, this tree and this shed are no longer here. This is an old picture. I should probably take a new one. Also, none of this grass is here. When I built the observatory, we basically filled all this in with gravel, and so now my wife has a garden along this side and along this side, and the observatory just is around here. This piece of concrete is also gone since this image was taken. But it is a basic guide. You can see the Milky Way along here, which would be nice if these houses weren't here to actually see. But you wouldn't be able to see it in visual context through looking at it. It's not in the borderline skies that I'm in. You have to be in darker skies to see that. If any of you have ever been at a cottage or anywhere up north, you would certainly be able to see it. It's quite a sight to behold, really. And you can do all kinds of things with this. You can choose favorites. You can go through everything, and even satellites. It'll tell you where they are. Tells you about all the objects that you're looking at. So if we wanted to look at, for instance, here I see 1805, which is the Heart Nebula, which is a really great target, but just not right now. It's just sitting, the house roof is somewhere up around here, so you can see it's well below my visual horizon. Excuse me. Anyway, that's Starry Night Pro. Whoops, we're done. Let's have a look. Well, what we got was one of those constellation satellite pass-throughs. Oh my gosh. You can see these streaks. These are satellites or aircraft going through, I think. Looks like satellites. Let's try that one more time, as long as it's not quite 11 yet. But let's see if we can do it without the satellites. You can see the galaxies a little better here. But let's try that again without the streaks of light. Darken it up a bit here. There we go. Again, with longer exposures and stacking these images, you would get a lot more detail. A lot of this noise would disappear, and you'd get a much cleaner image. These are single exposures, and they're going to be naturally noisy and not the best quality. It's by stacking layer upon layer upon layer of images. I might, if I want to image this, take, again with the Rasa is a very fast telescope, but I'd still probably take 110 to 120 images, stack them all together, and then I'd get a very clean image. Obviously, I would not use single images like this. Those would just be deleted. And I've lost my star again for guiding. Oh, and it's back again. So that's definitely something I have to redo, is the darks for the warmer temperatures that we're in now. And we have about 92 seconds. I may try one more target after this. I'm a hound for punishment. Let's have a look at the sky through. I have some software and a piece of hardware from Pegasus Astro that tells me the sky temperature and cloud cover and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it does have to be calibrated a bit, because it's still showing as clear, and it's definitely not clear. Yeah, there we go. So I've reset it. Now showing 6% cloud coverage. High clouds, haze. And we got about 22 seconds here for the exposure to complete. Five seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. So we have liftoff. Let's see what kind of image we get out of this, and hopefully no satellite trails. Nope, no satellite trails, so that's a good thing. So let's see if we can darken that up a bit. But definitely that haze is there, you can see it, yeah. The haze is definitely moved in again, and again, even though the satellite trails were through last time, it's really not a great image. You can see the beginnings of the galaxies. I'll just annotate it so you can see a little more clearly. You can see NGC 3623 or M65, NGC 3628 over here, and M66 or NGC 3627 down here, all part of the Leo triplet. So I'm going to do one more target. Yeah, I know I said this was the last one, but I am going to do one more. Let's see what we can find here. That's going to be a galaxy by the looks of it. There's Macarian's chain again. We did look at that earlier. What have you here? Spiral galaxy. The Squid Galaxy. Yeah. The Virgo Nebula. Well, they call it a nebula, but it's actually a galaxy because in many years ago, when astronomers were looking at these faint fuzzies in the sky, they thought they were more nebula rather than actual galaxies. This is a bright target, M87, so let's have a look and see what we can see. And this will be the last target of tonight. I want to thank everyone for viewing this, and for those who pop by, thank you. Next time if you're in, certainly feel free to hit me in the chat, and I'd love to talk to people who are watching about astronomy and my background and all that sort of thing. And here we go. It wasn't very far away. So, I think it's... Well, let's see. We'll do 180 seconds on this one. And that will be it for tonight. If by some chance the weather does get better or change the forecast, we'll definitely over the holiday weekend try to get out. But right now that forecast is looking pretty grim, to say the least. It's funny, I've been watching my Bortle. Used to be, when I first moved up here, it was Bortle 6-7. They've been building like crazy around my area, so a lot more street lighting and that sort of thing. So now we're looking at Bortle 9 skies here tonight, which is pretty sad because we're losing the night sky. Young people who were born in the last 10 years, I really am afraid to think of what they'll be able to see in the night sky by the time they, grow up a bit and maybe become interested in astronomy. It may be that you have to find a really dark sky just to see any of the stars. If you go to a place like New York City, only a few of the brightest stars are visible. And that's happening right here with the growth of Toronto and Caledon and Bolton and Georgetown and Mississauga. The skies are getting brighter all the time, and the amount of stars I could see when I first moved here on a clear night, dark night, especially a new moon, has changed considerably. So I got about 30 seconds on this one, and we'll see what we get out of it. Just shut down the Pegasus. It's just loading the image up now. Okay, well, a little something there. Not a lot, however. So you can see actually there's a lot of things going on in this image. Unfortunately, because of the conditions tonight, you can see all this haze. There's not much I can show you. I can darken it up a bit, but that really doesn't make a big difference. So you can see a bunch of different galaxies and objects in the area. The Virgo galaxy at the center, M87, which is I've imaged before and is a lot clearer and more interesting. I can zoom it a little bit, and you can see the hint of the core of the galaxy there, and even in NGC 4478 you can see a bit of the core. And like I say, unfortunately, even with a 3-minute exposure on a RASA, which is equivalent to, well, at least partially equivalent to, on a regular telescope, probably a 10-minute exposure, single exposure. And this is what you're seeing, which is really just a bunch of haze. Kind of disappointing, but I hope you enjoyed the show tonight, if you want to call it a show. There's even more stuff going on in this image. If you back it out a bit, you can see up here as well, and here. So I hope this has piqued your interest in astronomy a little bit and the night sky. Get out there and look up whenever you can, and hopefully you'll take some interest and learn more about the night sky. Astronomy is an amazing hobby. You can learn a lot about patience, because certainly patience is required. Just going to pop myself back in here to close out. Where are we? Oops. There I am. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We did have 10 views. Cool. Well, 10 people kind of popped through anyway. And I want to thank again everyone for stopping by. And yeah, I'm going to say it again. If you get a chance, please like and subscribe the channel. Subscribe to the channel. And turn on the little bell so you get notifications when we are live. And hopefully we'll see you again real soon. And like I say, keep looking up, because what's up there is fascinating. Good night, everyone.